And now here's what I'm going to do, Godspeed. I'm going to start all over again. I'm taking her back out into the wilderness where we had our first date, and I'll court her and I'll give her bouquets of roses, and I'll turn Heartbreak Valley into acres of hope. She'll respond like she did as a young girl in those days when she was fresh out of Egypt. And at that time, this is God's message still. You'll address me, dear husband, never again will you address me, my slave master. I'll wash your mouth out with soap and get rid of all the dirty, false gods' names, not so much as whisper of those names again. And at the same time, I'll make a peace treaty between you and the wild animals and the birds and the reptiles, and I'll get rid of all the weapons of the war. Think of it, safe from beasts and bullies, and then I will marry you for good, forever. I'll marry you true and proper, in love and tenderness. Yes, I'll marry you and neither leave you nor let you go. You'll know me, God, for who I really am. And on that same day, that very same day, I'll answer, this is God's message. I'll answer the sky, and the sky will answer the earth, and the earth will answer the grain, and the wine, and the oil, and the olive oils, and they'll all answer Jeriel. And I'll plant her in the good earth and have mercy on no mercy. I'll say to nobody, you are my dear somebody. And he'll say, you are my God. We want to talk about the valley of trouble leads to a doorway of hope. Talk about hope this morning in Sunday school. A living hope. Now we want to talk not so much about the living hope, but hope itself. Has there ever been a time in your life that you can remember when you were so determined to do your own thing that it didn't matter who it affected or who was hurt by it or who told you anything different, that you just, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Come on. And you just did what you're going to do. That's right. And then perhaps instead of someone saying anything to you, they just let you go your way. Until the very thing you wanted so badly blew up in your face. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sometimes you have to let folk drown. Yes, sir. Before they realize they can't. That's right. That's right. Sometimes you just have to let folk fall off the cliff before they realize they can't fly. No matter how much you try to save or help somebody, they're going to do what they're going to do. Sometimes you just have to let them go. Prodigal son, that's a story, by the way, that's an analogy. When he left home, the father was at a point where, go. The father didn't put up a fight, lock him in his room, ground him. He said, go. You think you all that? You grown. Amen. Go and live your life. I'm going to give you your inheritance. Go. You think you can do all that? And he went out and did his own thing, was having a good time. He was partying every night, sagging his pants, with some earrings in his ear, was hanging out with the women, partying. Yes, right, yeah, right. Men. Having a good time, wasn't watching his money. His money started getting funny. I mean, he's getting broke.
Yes.
all the time, so they wouldn't hire him at the office, the law office, and law firm. Bill Gates wouldn't have nothing to do with him. So he went on and started working odds and end type jobs. Cleaning Burger King floors, janitorial stuff, miscellaneous stuff, and worked in the pigsty, and he finally realized, I might as well get over. He finally hit rock bottom. He finally came to his senses. He finally realized that I really messed up, and I messed up bad. He was afraid to acknowledge that he had messed up. He had messed up his life. His life was nothing, and he was living a life of despair. He said, well, maybe my father will hire me. He didn't say I'll go home and seek forgiveness. I said, maybe my father will hire me. And I can at least make a better wage at my father's house. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom in the mess that you create. In order for you to realize that nobody else got you in your mess but you. Because you wanted to do what you wanted to do. And now you don't have a way, you don't see anything. We live in a society where they say there's no hope. And in theory, it's true, because people are doing anything and everything because they have no hope of anything, because hope is still there, but it's dark. When you're living in the dark, you can't see anything. Hope is not something you see. Paul says if you can see it, you can't hope for it. Romans will tell you anything that you can see is not hope. Hope that you're seeing is not hope. People cannot find hope because they can't see it, because they're wrapped up in the darkness of the world that they have created for themselves. In the text, God was so much in love with Israel. And one reason I looked at Hosea, this is one of the interesting books in the whole Bible. It is an imagery of God's people. And it talks about a woman. It's not a story about a woman. It is a story about Israel. It's really a parable, and God Hosea uses the image of a woman to talk about Israel. And he talks about this woman as a woman who had lost her sense of direction and had gotten caught up in trying to satisfy herself that the man she was with wasn't just doing it right, wasn't pleasing her. So she went out and found another man who would. Come on, please go. And that's what Israel did. Israel, God just wasn't doing everything that Israel wanted, and they just wasn't happy. God can't bring us roses everywhere. Come on. All right. God may always, you may want a bigger ring every now and then, but sometimes a man's pocketbook just can't get a bigger ring. Maybe you should be thankful that he brought you them roses. And keep hope alive for the ring to get bigger. But the woman wasn't being paid much attention to it, and went out and was partying and went out and kind of, when you get bored, you go out and play the field, and you make yourself available. Hosea is one of the most moving stories in the Bible because it touches the lives of many homes today where there may be separation, division, strife, but where husband and wives don't get along, and where people and cultures don't get along, and where politics and economics keep us at odds with each other, and where the flame of something that was once a passionate and loving relationship has now turned into a pile of smoldering coals and ashes. Many bitter cries and tears ask why. How could this happen to me? How can I find myself in so much trouble and despair? How can I find myself in a sense of hopelessness and confusion and hope's there, but we just don't see it anymore. We don't realize it because we have forsaken the one who really loved us the most.
That's right.
Israel had went out and strayed and had several different affairs with other idol gods. Now, this is not a story about women sleeping with men. This is a story about Israel going out and finding other things to make gods out of.
Yes.
We make gods out of money. We make gods out of telephones. We make gods out of clothes. We make gods out of our friends. We make gods out of our cars. We're making God out of anything that tickles our fancy. If it feels good, it has the potential to become your God. Food. Anything, anything because we just feel good folk. Got to feel good. And if TV and money won't do it, maybe I can do some drugs. Or maybe I can drink a beer and get drunk. Maybe I can experiment since I can't afford to go out and buy the real stuff. You want to feel good every day. God is good, but every day of your Christian life is not going to be rosy. We don't understand that. Maybe we need to be very careful when we tell people about salvation because, yes, you're going to feel good. God will take care of you, but every step along the way is not going to be fun and games. Because when you deny yourself, that in itself is painful. Jesus said you must first deny yourself, and we don't want to deny ourselves nothing. Long as I got some money, I'm going to eat. Talk about fast, give it up. I got to eat. I got to have this. I got to do, I just can't make sacrifices of everything. I got to please myself. The many cry bitter tears and they ask the question, why? How could this happen? But in our text, Hosea proclaims God's relationship with Judah in terms of a broken marriage or a bitter fight. He finds a woman who leaves her husband. She feels that he is not good enough, was found for something better or more attractive, and he does not meet her expectations anymore. In fact, she tells him, I've been seeing someone else.
Yeah.
He's got everything that I've always wanted, and he really loves me. So, bye-bye, to the left, to the left. Well, y'all heard that song? And then there's a standing hurt and sorrow that stands a man who cannot seem to change her mind. And although she has tried many times, she can only look at her and pick her bags up as she's walking out the door. And here we read of how Israel had her bags packed and was walking out on God. But God does not give up that easy, my friends. God will watch you and turn you over to your reprobate minds, is what he says in Romans. When we want to do everything we want to do, God will turn you over to your reprobate mind and watch you destroy yourself, but he'll stand there and wait. Sooner or later, you're going to need somebody to help. He just sits there and says, sooner or later, you're going to come to your senses. sooner or later you're gonna realize that all this other stuff that you've been doing ain't working. Pretty soon you're gonna understand that ain't no man gonna treat you like I have treated you. Ain't no man gonna pick you up after you done walked out on me, disgusted me, talked about me, let me down, disgusted me, insulted me, criticized me, and ain't no man gonna take you back after you done did all that. But he sits back and says, I'm the only one prepared to take you back, despite the fact that you treated me like I did not exist, despite the fact that you had adulterous affairs on me, despite the fact that you said you loved me, but you really didn't, despite the fact that you have abused me. I'm just going to sit back. Because you will want to come back at some point in this life. I hope that you'll want to come back before you die. Because I can only bear you at that point. Israel was unfaithful, a spiritual adulteress, caught in the act. It was so adulterous to God that God was about to strip her of her standings when God said, I will allure her, I will attract her, I'll keep courting her, I'll draw her to me again, I'll speak comfortably to her, I'll speak words of love to her because I can't give up on the one that I love. And again, his own nature, God stepped into the place of reconciling her back. In other words, he said, let's get away. He took Israel into a valley and placed Israel in a valley. And sometimes God has got